Whoa, 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 whoa! Hey, don't go anywhere, I'm not done! Have you ever thought to yourself, give me an Xbox One bundle with a Lego movie video game?
This week in game news, Capcom unveiled Zangief for Street Fighter V. There have been some controversies, as per usual. Scrolls has received an update that removes the quick match. There's yet another new Dreamcast game to speak of. The Bat controversy is nearing its end. A game adaptation of The Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss is in the early stages of development, and as per usual, we have plenty of great game releases for you to feast your eyes on. Additionally, we're giving away a Steam key for Planetary Annihilation this week. Keep watching for details on how to enter. This is the Blackman and Robin game news update. To start with, in slightly unusual news, the game Volgar the Viking was brought to the Dreamcast. Originally released on Windows, Mac, and Linux in 2013, the game has been brought to Sega's beloved undead platform by Mark Hall with the blessing of the game's original developers. If you'd like to try this version either in an emulator or on your Dreamcast, we have a link to the site at blackmanandrobin.com. The Dreamcast port of the game is freeware. You can download it for absolutely nothing. The original version of the game, however, for other platforms costs about $10. In book-to-game news, while we don't know much about the game adaptation of Kingkiller Chronicle beyond the fact that it's part of a movie deal with Lionsgate, we do know that the critically acclaimed 80 Days is now available on Mac and Windows. Set in 1872, the game is a steampunk reimagining of Around the World in 80 Days. The game was originally released on iOS and Android. This version, which is now available on Steam, brings a bunch of new content not only to the PC versions of the game, but also to the iOS and Android versions, which is absolutely fantastic. If you're into narrative-driven adventures, you should definitely check out 80 Days on Steam. If you're looking for more action, you might want to check out Ninja Pizza Girl, which looks wonderfully ridiculous and has gotten great reception thus far. Set in a grim future in which teenage delivery girls must leap across buildings, face down bullies, and deliver pizza in under 20 minutes, the game is currently available on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it's on track to be released on the Wii U, Xbox One, PS4, Vita, iOS, and Android. What's interesting about Ninja Pizza Girl is that the game was developed by a family in Australia. It was born after Jason Stark had a crazy idea for a game and pitched it to his family. He was inspired by his daughter's work as a pizza delivery girl. The family decided that bullies would make for suitable enemies in the game because, unlike killer robots, they are actually a thing that teenage pizza delivery girls are worried about. If you need a fun parkour platformer to tide you over until Mirror's Edge Catalyst is released, you might have a good time with Ninja Pizza Girl. If you're more of an MMO person but you don't like spending money, good news. Wildstar is now free to play. This is just the latest in a series of MMOs to go from subscription-based to free with other monetization methods. I assumed that this would happen to Wildstar after I saw it happen to The Elder Scrolls Online. It leaves me wondering what it would take to launch a new subscription-based MMO in 2015. While the old World of Warcraft is still kicking and EVE Online is profitable, these games are stalwarts with large subscription bases. Is it viable to launch a subscription-based MMO in this day and age? The evidence and the players seem to be saying no. What I can say about Wildstar thus far is that the transition to free-to-play seems quite fair. It's not based on exploiting player behavior, and it's not pay-to-win. While the game servers did go down during the week thanks to the flood of new players, and at the time of production, they were still having some issues, you may want to look into the game if you're looking for a space fantasy MMO, as the game has gotten great critical reception, and it's managed to survive its first year thanks in large part to a very dedicated player base. If you own a Wii U and you're a fan of the classic Sonic the Hedgehog games, you might have heard that the absolutely wonderful Freedom Planet is now available on your platform of choice. Freedom Planet started life as a Sonic the Hedgehog fan project, but it spiraled off into its own awesome thing. It's been described as the best Sonic the Hedgehog game in years, in spite of not actually starring Sonic the Hedgehog, and is one of the best new indie platformers in recent memory. If you don't already own it on Windows, Mac, or Linux, you can do yourself a favor and get it on Wii U right now. As mentioned at the outset, we know that Capcom intentionally unveiled Zangief for Street Fighter V this week, and of course, he's Zangief. He does wrestler things. This week, however, there was a bit of a leak courtesy of Famitsu. A new character named Laura is coming to Street Fighter V. Out of respect, however, we're not going to share those screenshots on our show this week. You'll have to wait until Capcom officially releases her trailer in stunning HD. According to a tweet from Yoshinori Oro, executive producer on the Street Fighter series, it seems that the announcement for Laura was supposed to happen during the Brazil Game Show in 2 weeks. Which reminds me, next week will be the 2015 New York Comic Con, and Blackman and Robin will be there. There will be an episode of Game News Update that week, and will most likely be featuring whatever character Capcom means to unveil by then, hopefully it's Lena, and then the week after NYCC will be our special episode that'll feature some of the coolest stuff we saw on the floor at the 2015 New York Comic Con. Don't miss it. In-game releases this week, The Beginner's Guide was released on Steam for Windows, Mac, and Linux. It's a 90-minute adventure game by Davey Radin, the creator of the Stanley Parable, and thus far it's gotten great reception. I have not looked too deeply into the game, as apparently it's very easily spoiled, but what has been revealed about the game through its description is that it has no traditional mechanics, goals, or objectives. Some people would refer to this as a walking simulator, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. All I know about the Beginner's Guide is that it tells the story of a person struggling to deal with something that they do not yet understand. Both players and critics have been heaping praise upon the Beginner's Guide. Seeing as it's coming from the developer of the Stanley Parable, I'm not surprised it's brilliant. A rather unusual-looking game called Daily Espada hit Steam this week. Daily Espada is a 2D platformer inspired by Brazilian folklore. You play as a family man who must fight his way through a bizarre game show as his family sends messages via email. It's a rather strange game, but it has gotten very good reception thus far. If it sounds like your sort of thing, check it out. Daily Espada is available for Windows and Mac. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 was released and, oh goodness gracious, where to begin? The game is rife with glitches. There's a lovely video from the folks at Eurogamer that shows Tony attempting to skate, only to be hurled into the sky by the invisible hand of physics glitches, or pulled through the ground by otherwise unseen forces. To make things worse, these glitches are all present after the game received a 7 GB patch on launch. It's kind of funny to consider, seeing as 7 GB is around the size of a dual-layer DVD. Do you know how much you can store on one of those? Hint: there's enough room on a dual-layer DVD for at least one good game. It's a pity that Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is such a disaster, but it seems that it may have been rushed because Activision has a deal with Tony Hawk to license his name. That deal expires this year, as revealed by a press release from over a decade ago. It's a pity because after this fiasco, I doubt Mr. Hawk will let Activision publish another game bearing his name. Perhaps Tony Hawk will let the folks over at Roll7, who developed the Ollie Ollie series of games, create the next Tony Hawk game. Frankly, I think that's a much better deal than letting Activision ruin your name with, well, whatever Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is supposed to be. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5 is out now for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It's coming to the PS3 and Xbox 360 on November 10, 2015. We have some interesting good and bad news this week. To start with the good-ish news, remember the Deus Ex Mankind Divided pre-order controversy that we covered a few weeks ago? It was a stupid scheme to boost pre-order numbers by unlocking tiers of content for those who pre-ordered based on how many pre-orders came in. Well, Square Enix decided it wasn't worth the bad publicity and shut down the pre-order program. Yes, you can still pre-order Deus Ex Mankind Divided, but the stupid scheme is no longer attached to the game. Additionally, all the incentive content from the program is available to anybody who pre-orders the game. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided is coming out on February 23rd, 2015 for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. The Bat controversy is almost at an end. Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment posted an announcement on October 1st, 2015, announcing that the PC version of Batman Arkham Knight was almost totally repaired. Further, the game will be receiving an update near the end of October, at which point in time, the once broken PC version of Batman Arkham Knight will finally be available to purchase again, and all DLC that has been released for the console version of the game will be available on PC. In case you are just tuning in, Batman Arkham Knight was released in June for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. While the console versions of the game are great, the PC version was horribly broken at launch and lacked many promised features. The problems with the game at launch were so bad that Warner Bros. Pulled the game from sale from Steam, and at current it's not available to purchase. The Blackman and Robin Game News update has dubbed this the Bat controversy, and we've been following it week to week. From the looks of things, when the game is finally available again, it will have been 4 whole months, 1/3 of a year, that it took for Arkham Knight to be fixed. That's how bad the problems were. Moral of the story? Don't pre-order games. The Bat controversy is almost at an end, it seems, but never fear. A new controversy has erupted around the Humble Bundle. We've not seen this sort of controversy around Humble since the Humble Indie Bundle 10 was released in January of 2014, which put the in-development Starbound at a fixed $10 tier. There were a limited number of copies of Starbound, and the end result was that the games in the Beat the Average tier had an inflated price thanks to the games that were no longer available to purchase in the bundle. Nobody liked this, and Humble hasn't pulled this nonsense since, though they have retained the fixed tiers, which usually wind up raising the price of the games in the BTA tiers of bundles. So, what has Humble gotten itself into this week? Well, it's something that they're being deliberately vague about. Seriously, that's exactly what they told me when I sent an email asking for clarification. After apologizing for not being clear in the FAQ, they told me that they were being deliberately vague because they wanted to surprise people. This week, Humble introduced the Humble Monthly Bundle. It costs $12 a month, and each month you get surprise games. According to Humble, the games in the Humble Monthly Bundle are highly curated and include everything from recent hits to hidden gems to timeless classics, and none of the games in the Humble Monthly Bundles have ever been in other bundles. If you subscribe this October, you get Legend of Grimrock 2 instantly, and there's no telling what you'll get next month when the first bundle actually unlocks. Initially, my issue with the Humble Monthly Bundle was that it seemed that you were paying $12 a month for a single random game that you might not like that hasn't even been in a Humble Bundle before. After asking Humble myself, however, it turns out that the Humble Monthly Bundle features not 1, but 5 games each month, which significantly sweetens the deal. I have no idea how many people have subscribed thus far, but I do know that at the time of this video's production, the internet does not seem pleased with this idea, and I have to say that I don't much like the concept in its current form. There are a few reasons why I'm against it. My initial first strike against the Humble Monthly Bundle was that its first game, Legend of Grimrock 2, was being offered at $12, which isn't the lowest price the game has ever been. According to SteamPrices.com, the game went for $5 and some change during a sale. Actually, however, Legend of Grimrock 2 is meant to be a sort of subscription bonus meant to entice you to subscribe to the service. If you subscribe now for $12, you'll get that game plus the 5 that Humble is planning on unveiling later on. This is a better deal than I initially thought it was, but I feel that they weren't clear enough about this on their site. It seemed more like an offer of a month than anything else. The other issue that I had was regarding the price. $12 a month for a single game seemed rather unfair. I'm not saying that $12 is too much for a good game. Frankly, I'd happily pay much more than that for a great game every month if it's something that I'm guaranteed to love, like City Skylines. But 5 games a month for $12, if they're well curated, sounds pretty fair. For perspective, the cost of a PlayStation Plus subscription is $9 per month, and each month comes with 6 new games. So while the cost sounds fair, assuming that the games in the bundles are really, really good, and you don't already own them, a serious problem with the Humble Monthly Bundle in its current form is the lack of transparency. You might not mind being surprised with games every month, but there's no telling if your platform of choice is going to be supported. Steam for Windows support is promised, meaning games that run on Windows PCs through Steam are going to be guaranteed to be in the bundle. Beyond that, however, there's nothing about the games being DRM-free. You can't pay what you want, there's no guarantee that they'll be cross-platform, and each bundle gives 5 cents to PayPal Giving Fund, a rather obscure charity. I think the real issue with this bundle is that it's everything that Humble was not. When the Humble Indie Bundle was born, it was DRM-free, cross-platform, pay what you want, helps charity. Over the years, however, these foundations have been steadily eroded away. The Humble Indie Bundles have been split into tiers, which was initially done to curb abuse and was a great idea, but then less and less content was put into the pay-what-you-want tiers. More content was locked not just behind tiers meant for you to beat the average, but on tiers that are locked at a certain amount of money. It's no longer about give what you want, but give this very specific amount that's also raising the cost of the average. So besides this not really being in the spirit of Humble, my last issue with the service is that besides a random monthly $12 collection of games, it doesn't really bring anything new to the table. If it not only included the games, but material about the games, maybe tie-in comics or behind-the-scenes footage and information about the game's creations, I would happily pay for this. Remember the regrettably failed Kickstarter documentary series by Russell Pitts called Stage of Development? It was about the struggles and victories of game developers. If this bundle came like something with that alongside the mystery games, in fact, if it was $12 a month for a mystery game and some information about how the game was created, I would very, very happily put my money behind it. Right now, however, all the Humble Monthly Bundle really offers is a shot at 5 random games that you might or might not like. That's the bottom line. While I have no hard numbers, the feedback online speaks for itself. Looking at the likes and dislikes for the trailer for the Humble Monthly Bundle on YouTube, things are looking very disfavorable. About 75% of people have given that video the thumbs down. All over the internet, wherever there's a discussion of the Humble Monthly Bundle, people are vowing not to buy into it. So, this brings me to you. Would you subscribe to the Humble Monthly Bundle? Why or why not? And if not, what changes would you make to the bundle? You can let us know via email. Just shoot one to info@blackmanandrobin.com with the subject line Humble Fumble, and let us know what you think about the Humble Monthly Bundle. You can also send us tweets at blackmanandrobin, or leave us comments on our Instagram, which is also at blackmanandrobin. Whatever suits you. The best comments will be featured on next week's episode of Game News Update, and 3 of our favorites will win a Steam copy of Planetary Annihilation. Last week was our Kickstarter special. We featured a bunch of cool projects, and this week we still have a few awesome games that are being crowdfunded to share. To start with, we have Verona. Verona is a sci-fi action-adventure game based on Romeo and Juliet, and the game draws inspiration from Firefly. We reported on Verona some months ago because it looks quite promising. The game's premise is that the Earth is being abandoned after humanity damaged it quite terribly, and crews are being sent in to scavenge the planet and pick up valuable artifacts for the space aristocrats to use as their own personal trophies. It's as though Earth has become the goodwill of the galaxy. In Verona, you play as an extractor. It's your job to pull stuff from the Earth, and you have your run-ins with the Chevrons, who are essentially the space cops who'd rather not have you illegally picking up pieces of the Eiffel Tower. The game is incredibly ambitious. It's going to be episodically based and feature 3D third-person action segments connected by 2D adventure games. Verona is currently in development for Windows, and the developers are holding out as a stretch goal support for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. The Kickstarter for Verona is running until October 29, 2015. The next Kickstarter that we're featuring this week is for a game called Home Free, in which you play as a dog lost in a procedurally generated city. The Kickstarter trailer is one of the most emotionally effective I've ever seen. Home Free is set to be released November of 2016 for Mac and PC. The last game on Kickstarter that we're featuring this week is for Chapter 3 of the Afro-Noir point-and-click adventure game, The Journey Down. This episodically based adventure draws on Monkey Island and Grim Fandango, as well as the developer's childhood in Zambia and time spent later in life in Tanzania. The first couple chapters have gotten much critical acclaim and are some of the most gorgeous adventure games you can get your hands on. Chapter 3 of The Journey Down is set to be released September 2016 for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Finally this week, we have a new trailer for the upcoming Minecraft Story Mode, which is an adventure game in development by Telltale Games set in the world of Minecraft. I'll be frank, I'm not particularly excited for this. While I love Minecraft and like the idea of a story-driven game set in its world, the dialogue and tone of the game that I'm getting from the trailer just doesn't sit right with me. Minecraft Story Mode is set to be released on October 13, 2015 for PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Windows, Android, and iOS. I leave you this trailer for your consideration.
As the Ender Dragon. In the end, the Order of the Stone emerged victorious, and the dragon was defeated. Their story complete, they slipped away into the pages of legend. But when one story ends, another one begins.
There's gotta be something bigger going on here. Something we just don't see.
We need to get out of here.
I'm sorry this is how they had to learn the truth.
I can't stop this by myself. Will you help me?
Well, that's it for this week's game news. For all the latest, be sure to follow at Blackman and Robin on Twitter and Instagram for more reviews, previews, and interviews. For my own views, follow me at Jordan_Cameron, and don't forget to check out our giveaways at blackmanandrobin.com for Assault Android Cactus, which is nearly over, and for Planetary Annihilation, which is going on right now.